And first of all, this morning, welcome to National Sweater Day. National Sweater Day and National Soup Day. You don't have soup here, but I have a sweater. We'll do our first land acknowledgement. The city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver, Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island and acknowledge these lands have been home to the diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. And I need someone to adopt the agenda. I'll just note that Councillor Blackmore is online with us today. Councillor Berg is here, myself, and Mayor Clayton is away for about an hour or so. So she'll be back for some of the other meetings. So adoption of the agenda. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bosch. I'd like committee to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. That's in order. We'll call the question. And that carries. Thank you. Next, we'll go into our delegations, and we will speak with the Kool-Aid Society today. And we'll start with Chief Lemieux, if you can introduce this, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have representation today from the Kool-Aid Society, so we'll just ask them to come to the front table and introduce themselves and walk us through their presentation.
Thank you for that. And I'm just getting my paperwork up here. Welcome. Amanda is
Hi.
you.
Sorry.
Please introduce yourselves and the person you brought with you, and we'll start.
My first name is Amanda Bray, my last name is Gerber, and I am the financial director for the Kool-Aid Society of Grande Prairie. Brought with me my operations manager, Barbara Brettenall-Feltman.
Thank you and welcome.
Eltham Bretton. Sorry, Barbara.
No worries.
I apologize, guys. I'm a little bit nervous.
No, don't be nervous. Hey, it's early morning. It's cold. Nobody's watching. Councillor O'Connor, can you hear good enough? If we could bring the mics just slightly up.
Is that better?
Pull them. Yeah, just pull it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, you may begin, and then you have about, what is it, 10 minutes, 5 minutes? 5 minutes.
Okay.
Ish. And then committee may have some questions for you.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
So I've prepared a speech, and I have a list of questions and answers, as well as we've brought some material with everything we've done to date that we would like to just leave for you guys at a later moment. First of all, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you all today. I come before you as the financial director of Kool-Aid Society, but also as an advocate for hundreds of youth and families who rely on us every single day. For 45 years, the Kool-Aid Society has been a pillar of youth development, mentorship, and mental health in Grande Prairie. And today I have to share our urgent reality that without immediate financial assistance, we'll be forced to close our doors on March 31st, 2025. This crisis is due to an abrupt, unexpected funding cut by our primary funder, which accounted for 90% of our operating budget. This decision was made without prior notice to us, despite a decade-long partnership with them and a full year of collaboration and development. And it's the first to develop the first of its kind youth mental health program this year that balances prevention and intervention. While the funder has the right to realign its mandate, their shift away from preventative programming means hundreds of youth have lost the access to the safe space, the critical mentorship, and the mental development and mental health support. We cannot replace this lost funding as fast enough to prevent the closure. Kool-Aid serves over 300 registered families with our programs being done in various times of day and various days that actively serve between 110 and 175 active enrolled youth and between 25 and 70 attending daily. If we close the impact will be felt immediately across the community. It's going to eliminate the affordable after-school evening and summer programming for youths aged 5 to 18, serving kindergarten to grade 12, that services parents depend upon to work and provide for their families. We are taking kids ages 12 to 18 off the street and helping them with risky behaviors. Without structured safe space, we'll be left with nowhere to go, higher likelihood of vandalism, petty crime, substance abuse, and peer influences that are negative. We would be facing job losses for our dedicated staff and youth mentors, including high school students who rely upon Kool-Aid as career development and leadership opportunities. And the strain on local resources with structured mental health support and community engagement, youth will turn to social services, law enforcement, and crisis-based interventions rather than that preventative thing that we do currently. At least 25 working families will be forced to leave jobs or leave their children at home, putting families in possible situations between choosing to pay for childcare that they already cannot afford, or have to pay for basic necessities like food or rent, which we also help provide for those youth. Our proactive response to this point was, despite the devastating loss, we have acted swiftly. The news that we received was actually only on January 21st, so we've done quite active responses to this point. Our prior year as a contract was not enough for the 2 facilities, so we did close the one in the Hillside location. So because the funding we had previously had was not enough to actively fund both locations, we were running an exceptionally lean budget, maintaining our core services, and we've expanded fundraising efforts, including being able to do a casino night this March. However, those funds are all restricted and cannot be used specifically for the programming that we need, which is the primary funder. We've applied for multiple grants, and we've seeked corporate sponsorships. Unfortunately, many of these grants were not awarded or are not awarded until September or November of 2025. And we have new availability to apply for additional grants in 2025 of June. We have listed our assets for sale with our secondary facility to hopefully generate that income. But again, that's not a quick action. We cannot foresee when that could sell. It is currently being leased, so we're not at a loss operating that facility at this time. And we've even explored options of converting our space to a child care facility from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., assisting a cost to bridge the area, because our main operations are from that 3 until 9 p.m. at night. In past, the prior ED launched paid programmings and membership fees. These were a breach of our prior government contracting, which we had to cease immediately. They also pose infrastructure challenges of capacity of the building and spaces. So it's not something that we've been able to actively do at this time. And logistically speaking, it caused several issues with capacity and the requirement of adult to child ratios. We've launched media campaigns, we've launched additional fundraisers, and our major trajectory and support is there. Following our media release on January 31st, we've had an overwhelming response with over 35 direct inquiries from families and community members of how they can help. We've had over 385 social media shares, 2 major media outlets. We're looking to see how they can help and share. And we've had so many families of support that have said how Kool-Aid has helped them over the past 45 years in the last 2 weeks. What we're really needing at this moment is assistance to create our break even. So we're hoping to have at least a 3-month window where we don't have to close March 31st, but we can close June 30th. So that gives us to at least fill out the school year and the opportunity to hopefully create additional support. We've been working with the FCSS, Housing Community Developments, and local businesses. And again, we're not looking for a handout. We're just looking for an opportunity to keep servicing the youth and finalizing a long-term solution.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm going to cut you off now.
No problem.
We're well over 5 minutes. You have a lot of information there.
Yes.
And you could, be a speed reader too.
Okay.
So I think we probably should ask you some questions.
Please, yes.
So that if guaranteed we've missed a bunch of stuff.
No problem. And we've provided
so
a bunch of information here. So if you guys need to deliberate later or look that or ask for more information, we'd be happy to give that.
So ultimately, your ask is, as it states in here, $60,000 emergency funding is what your ask is.
That is correct.
Okay. And we will go to committee questions, and we'll start with Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Councillor Bosch. Thank you so much for coming in, Kool-Aid. I'm really disappointed that you've lost this funding, and I know the amount of amazing work that you do in the community. I know that it's likely that the funding stream has disappeared because of provincial realignment, taking AHS completely over to acute care. A number of years ago, I know that your funding came to you through mental health, Alberta Health Services Mental Health Division. And I'm wondering if you've had any indication from the government regarding possible funding streams opening up in later months. Like, have you heard anything at all about that?
Amanda?
When our contract was ceased, I did ask for additional information anywhere else that we could look, and we weren't provided with that information at that time. We've personally looked, but no one has gotten back to us in the short time that we have.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Burke?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bosch, and thanks, ladies, for coming in. So just a couple questions, and just want to thank you guys. A couple weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, Youth Advisory Council, which is a committee of young residents around the city that advised the city on a number of things. You guys did a presentation on it, so I learned quite a bit. I still assumed, actually, that you'd had only one location up in Hillside, but you actually have two, including your main one, which is near the Dave Bar, in Patterson. So you just mentioned that you have closed the Hillside location. Is that because of this funding?
The Hillside location was closed in December of 2023, and that was because there wasn't enough funding to operate both locations. That's correct. The funding never changed, but the value of everything that we had to for the two locations. So we decided to centralize everything to one to become the best at the program we could.
Excellent. And if I may, a couple questions for Chief Whiteway.
Sure.
So Chief Whiteway, what is the city currently funding Kool-Aid? Do you have that number? Chief Lemieux?
I'm going to maybe ask Tammy to join us, and she can help answer that question.
Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you for the question. We are currently funding Kool-Aid, 94,676 per year.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. And for Chief Whiteway, the city, from what I understand, has money for emergency group funding. Is there enough in that pot to cover what they're asking for potentially?
Thank you for the question. So the policy for emergency community group funding allows for up to $200,000 annually for emergency funding. However, it's not a funded budget, so council would have to determine a funding source if emergency funding was provided.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blackmore, did you have another question?
I have several more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm wondering what the status is of your ownership of the Southside location. Have you assumed ownership of that, or is that still carrying a mortgage?
No, so we don't have a mortgage at either of our properties. So we own the Hillside property outright, and it's currently being put up for sale tomorrow. Actually, I think they're putting it up today. And we own the building in between the YMCA and Dave Bar, but we are leasing the land from the city at the South Patterson location.
Okay. Okay, and what's your amount that you pay for a lease? Is it
we actually don't pay any. We don't pay anything for the lease at this time. It was originally at the $1 mark for the last 20 years, but you guys have ceased that. So we did check with the city.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask a question. I'll cut you off for a second, and then I'll throw one in there, so we're going to mix it up a bit. With this community response, you said an overwhelming response. Yes. Has that equated into any funding?
It has not equated into funding at this moment. Barbara was actually able to meet with a local group that wanted to do a massive fundraiser for us. However, they since reached out to all of their additional people, and they said just based off of the amount of other things happening within the 2-month time frame, they did not think that it would bring enough to fruition for us, because we would be, and I don't say this, I put in quotations, competition of other groups right now that are doing dances and things like that, that it just wouldn't bring in what we're needing, because it's around the same time as the father-daughter dance and the mother-son balls. And that was the only way that they felt that they could do it. We did reach out to about 6 to 7 other large companies that we have communication with, and again, it's just a timing thing. They are just receiving their annual budgets. I had meetings with some people over at Step Energy, Synovus, and things like that, just to see what we could do. But again, it's their budgets come into fruition April and June.
The other question I have is in regards to staffing and volunteering. How many staff do you have and volunteers, and is there an ability to do something in that capacity with a change of staff?
We have a very lean team of staff. We currently have 7 staff members entirely that devote their time between that. And then we have quite a few volunteers. Our volunteers primarily at this moment are actually youth engaged volunteers and business volunteers. So for instance, actually our entire board is a volunteer board as well. But we had a bunch of businesses that dedicated their time for our career and life management. They're bringing in their time. We have youth mentors that are coming in and teaching STEM classes and dance classes. So we do reach out to the community often so that we don't carry the burden of wages. However, the burden of wages is still required because we do need a good ratio of child to adult. As also as in our afternoon programs, we do have quite a few children that may have some behavioral issues, and we want to give them the best output for being there.
And you've looked at opportunities to perhaps change the model?
Yes, we've looked at several opportunities in that time frame. We have quite a good ratio with the youth that we had. We previously had 14 staff members and went down to the 7. So we've done quite a bit of those changes.
Okay. Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Councillor Berg. So to go back to your Hillside location, you say it will go on the market today or tomorrow. Can you tell me what your listing price would be?
We're listing the price at $299.9, and we do have it currently tenant occupied. We did reach out to them firsthand to see if they wanted to purchase the building first, and they are a Montessori childcare, and her exact emails provided in the literature I have that she's politely declining because they're also concerned with childcare just in with the new announcements that we received. I don't know if you'd like to talk on some of those. Even one of the other options we looked at is creating our business as a childcare model, and then the upfront costs to that are quite substantial.
That's right. Councillor Palat has a question.
Thanks for letting me in the queue.
Oh, you weren't done? Sorry. There's a follow-up.
My follow-up question is actually, so if you can stay open until the end of June with emergency funding of $60,000, and I assume, I guess, that your intent right now is by the end of June, you will have found other sources of funding so that you can operate throughout the summer and next year, or that you'll close for the summer and try and be up and running again for September. Is that
our goal
sort of where you're hoping to go?
Yes, our goal would be to secure additional funding between that time frame, because now we would have from February until June to find an alternative that is that approximate $20,000 a month, which is our operating budget that we received from Recovery Alberta. And our goal would be to do that. We adopt a paid program in summer, and our drop-in that's currently funded by FCSS as well as Alberta Health Services there was still in full operation. So they were still doing that drop-in program from 3 until 9 at night. And then we have paid programming for the summer months. So the goal would be to still be open into the summer, but that we would be able to secure funding from now until that June mark. It's just giving us a little bit more time and the families more time as well.
Councillor Blackmore, do you have more?
I do, but go to Councillor Palat, and then I have a question for Ms. Whiteway.
Okay. Councillor Palat.
Thanks, Chair Bosch. Thanks for letting me in the queue on that. I'm just curious on your Hillside location with its closure. Did you see a lot of those kids migrate to the south side, or did you just not see them coming to the program at all after that was closed?
So the previous AD did make some strategic challenges and changes that were not in the best interest of Cooley at that time that the board was aware of. We should have never actually left that Hillside location. They tried to do a partnership with safe communities, and they moved the operations into the Red Barn that was at the Safe Communities location. That was actually against our process and wasn't safe for the youth. So we ceased that, but in that time frame, we had already rented out to the Hillside location. At the time of the move, we did see a decrease, even just moving from the Hillside location to the Red Barn in the same area, a decrease of about 90%. So we only had 7 to 8 youth at the facility, so it didn't make sense to pay the rental costs and everything to all of that. So we centralized. We did look at ways of getting busing to locations, carpooling with families, but we are still servicing an incredible amount of families that find a way to come to the Southside location.
just to follow up on this, can you let me know about how much square footage you guys? I'd been in the facility previously, but I'm just trying to get my head around how big of space it was that you guys were using at the hillside.
The hillside, so it was about 1,400 square feet, but we had up, middle, down. So you could do your programming in 3 locations, versus the Patterson location. We're definitely quite a bit smaller, and we have to do everything in rooms.
Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate letting me in the queue.
Thank you. Have you had conversations with our city administration and staff in regards to potential opportunities for the future for you?
Yes, I actually was able to reach out to Tammy, is our main contact here. She's been instrumental in helping us try to figure out some things, and was actually able to help us get to the process of the delegation here today.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Blackmore?
Thank you. My question for Chief Whiteway is a recommended funding source for emergency funding.
Thank you, through the chair. So I can start, and I believe Chief Lemieux may add to my response as well. Council really, from my perspective, has a choice to fund either with unallocated future expenditures reserve or council strategic initiatives. Both would cover potential 60,000 that's needed, and I'll just pass it over for Chief Lemieux to finish that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've also identified $30,000 that we could reallocate from operations. So those are the potential funding sources.
Thank you for that. Councillor Berg?
Yeah, if anything, I'd just like to do business.
Actually, Councillor Palat has one more question.
Okay.
And Councillor Blackmore, did you have more after this?
No, I'm ready for business.
Okay.
Thanks again for letting me. I'm just curious. I'm not sure who administration would take this, but have we looked at the activity reception center as an option for them to have a location again on the east side, or is there space enough in there on the second floor for the programming to go in there?
Chief Lemieux?
Thank you for the question. So what we've done is we've initiated discussions with Kool-Aid to help them figure out where we go from here. So what does this business model look like? What does the operation potentially looks like moving forward? We have not looked at the ARC, but certainly I think all options will be on the table and we will looked at.
Okay, no, I'd appreciate that. I just think could be a potentially great fit for that location. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Palat. Councillor Berg?
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to make a motion that committee send this to council for deliberation at the February 10th council meeting. As well, in that time, administration recommend a funding source, but also to reach out to potential funding partners. From what I understand, there's a lot of conversation happening behind the scenes. They're working very actively. And so from what I understand, that there may be potential partners to come forward in the next week. I believe that administration is aware of some of these conversations. So just like to send this to council for more deliberation.
Thank you, Councillor Berg. I think that's a fantastic motion and it's in order. So is there any questions or comments? And we'll call the question. Go ahead.
I'm not ready. I really feel that the motion needs to be more specific. No matter what happens, this is going to go to council to be deliberated. And I would like to actually have a motion with the dollar amount included. So that we would request council discuss emergency funding of up to $60,000. I know that there is another organization in the community who's looking very seriously at coming up with some additional dollars. So I'm not expecting it to include the entire 60, but I think that council needs more than just a vague motion in order to move this forward. And I don't think that, let me back up a minute. I think that Kool-Aid Society also needs some specific reassurance in this motion. So I would really like Councillor Berg to include the dollar amount.
Yeah, of course.
Councillor Berg, okay. He has accepted that friendly amendment.
Okay.
So committee recommend council approve funding in the amount of up to $60,000 and direct administration to recommend a funding source at that time. So that is our motion on the table, and we'll call the question. And that is unanimous. I don't think that you had any doubt, considering the conversation this morning, that we're going to try to help you through this.
We truly, truly appreciate all of your guys' time, effort, and helping us. It definitely means a lot to many of us. Thank you again.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Do you guys want this extra materials for?
Sure, we'd be happy to have that.
Where would I place that?
Okay, now we're going to go into reports. And Chief Lemieux, can you do our service area update, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to start with enforcement services. In support of our transportation department, peace officers continue to play a crucial role in ensuring roadways remain clear and accessible by enforcing parking regulations during snow bans. And again, enforcement services. During this reporting period, we have seen an increase in requests for service at the Eastlink Centre. Reports of youth engaging in unruly behaviors at the facility, occupying customer parking spaces when attending school, and other complaints have been received. So officers have responded with increased patrols at the Eastlink Centre to help address these concerns. Again, from enforcement services, several peace officers from both the city and the county successfully completed an advanced animal handling training. This specialized training enhances the officer's ability to safely and effectively respond to situations involving domestic animals, ensuring the well-being of both animals and the public. From mobile outreach in quarter 4 of 2024, caseworkers received 53 referrals and supported 82 unique individuals, connecting them to essential resources to be eligible for housing services. So 48 of those individuals were connected to for financial assistance. We assisted 4 individuals in obtaining identification. We provided relocation supports to 8 individuals and referred 17 individuals to the hub table for connections to housing supports. From the RCMP would like to advise that following the numerous reports of tires being slashed, a subsequent investigation resulted in the identification and arrest of a youth male. And following a judicial hearing, the youth was released from custody and was scheduled to appear in court in Grande Prairie on February the 3rd. The Grande Prairie RCMP plainclothes support sections were busy in 2024 assisting frontline policing operations, helping to make Grande Prairie safer. And the RCMP has provided me with a number of statistics, and I'm quickly going over it, but I will send the details through an email for council because there's a lot of information here. So the Grande Prairie General Investigations Section, that's GIS, responds to the most serious and complex investigations in the area. GIS also supports frontline policing to work through more comprehensive investigations. In 2024, GIS assisted in 269 investigations, supporting over 129 judicial authorizations, advancing Grande Prairie's most serious and sensitive police cases. The next division is the Grande Prairie Special Investigation Unit, or the SIU. They specialize in sexual and intimate partner violence-related offenses, and in total, the SIU progressed over 1,100 investigations throughout 2024, and they assisted in over 2,500 other files. Next is the drug section. They progressed over 176 investigations to help reduce harm caused by illicit drug trade in the Grande Prairie area, and throughout 2024, the drug section seized a large amount of illicit drugs, currency as proceeds of crime, and a number of weapons. And I'll circulate some more details on that particular one. But these seizures led to 69 criminal charges and the arrest of 22 people. And last unit I'm going to talk about is the Crime Reduction Unit, or the CRU unit, and they focus enforcement on in crime hotspots or areas experiencing high crime volume. They also target offenders who are known to cause the greatest amount of harm to the community. And in 2024, the CRU unit assisted in over 636 investigations. And their investigations resulted in 40 people being charged for drug, property, and firearms-related offenses, and they recovered 55 stolen vehicles. So I will share more details with council, but I just wanted to provide a highlight summary from the RCMP. From Housing and Community Development, the city was successful in renewing their supportive living accommodations license under the Continuing Care Act for Cedar Point supporting housing, and that license is valid now till December 31, 2028. And from the Community Knowledge Campus, the 11th Annual South Peace Volleyball Club's Meerkat Classic took place January 24th to 26th at the Eastlink Center, alongside 5 additional venues across the city. Widely regarded as the largest Northern Club volleyball tournament of the year, this event drew over 97 club teams, including 55 from outside the region, representing Alberta, BC, and the territories. The tournament featured 8 different divisions across boys and girls teams, spanning ages U13 to U17. Over 1,500 athletes, coaches, and spectators attended. And from Sport Development, an evening drop-in for pickleball has been added on Wednesday nights from 6 to 9 at the Activity Reception Center. This will offer an opportunity for working adults to participate in the sport. And the Polar Plunge is taking place on Friday, February 28th. The event is raising funds for the Special Olympics and is open to the public for registration. If anybody would like to take a plunge, please join us on February 28th. And from Events and Entertainment, lastly, the Canadian Live Music Association released the first ever Canadian live music economic impact study, and Bonnet's Energy Centre staff was a contributor to the development of this report, and I'll share the full report with Council, but just want to point out that the live music industry has a $10.9 billion impact to the Canadian GDP, and $3.7 billion in tax revenue and $5.8 billion in labor income to Canadians. So a very large industry in our country. And in terms of upcoming events at Bonnet's, February the 12th, the second place Storm versus first place Whitecourt Wolverine. So that should be a great game. February 14th is also the date of the Passionate Hearts luncheon at Bonnet's. And February 18th, the Storm will be playing Lloydminster. And Madam Chair, I apologize for the length of the report, but that's my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Lemieux. Really, is it any different than any other time? You always have lots going on in that department. We'll start with Councillor Blackmore, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bosch. This is not actually a question for Chief Lemieux, but I would like to pass along congratulations to Katie Bieberdorf for being awarded a Sport Tourism Industry Champion Award for the work that she's done with sport tourism in the city. And that's wonderful news, and really appreciate the fact that people outside of Grande Prairie are recognizing the work that we're doing here. And also congratulations to the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships, which also won an award for Canadian Sport Event of the Year, with a budget of less than $1 million. So, yeah, congratulations, Katie.
Thank you, Councillor Blackmore. Katie, let's do a little congrats. Thank you for all your hard work. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bosch. Chief Lemieux, in your policing report, you'd actually mentioned at the end that there was additional information coming to council. Would that by chance include trends? Are we trending up, down in different categories?
Chief Lemieux?
Certainly, I'll follow up with the RCMP to see if they could provide that additional information. But I was going to provide just more details in terms of the types of drugs and weapons that were seized in the community.
Okay. Yeah, if trending is available, I would love to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Berg. I have a question in regards to the current winter conditions for our vulnerable population outside, potentially. Is our model that we use now and our conditions in the wintertime any different this week than they have been throughout the last few months? What's our process?
So we have an agreement with Wapiti House. They basically manage the winter shelter for us, and all indications are that they are able to meet the needs of the homeless people when the temperature goes this cold.
Right. And I guess I'm just curious if anything has changed from like November to like this week. I assume that winter is winter and conditions are met overall, correct?
Tammy, do you want to help answer that question? So Tammy's got more details. So
a little vague question, but
Tammy to ask. to answer the question.
Hello, Tammy.
Hi. Thank you for the question. Normally, on weeks like this week, where it's extremely cold, more people are staying inside, so the numbers do increase to about 130 people accessing the warming shelter and St. Lawrence Center and Wapiti. So we do see more people inside.
Okay.
We are not to the point where it's exceeding capacity where we need to look at another location at this point.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And, you know, anybody who's going to sign up for the polar plunge, boy, you need a medal. I'm a hard pass on that. I'll watch. So, no other questions from anyone else? No, hard pass. Next, we'll go into the Golden Age Center. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Councillor, you could actually pay not to jump. That's what I've been told. Because I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they said, well, you can pay not to plunge. So keep that in mind because it is a fundraiser.
Well, I think that we can keep that in mind for everyone. That there should be a lot of funds coming through. Thank you, Councillor Blackmore. Next, we'll go into the Golden Age Center. And Chief Lemieux, can you introduce that, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you have a report in front of you dealing with the Golden Age Center and a proposed expansion and the need to renew our agreement with the Golden Age Center. So I'll turn it over to Katie, who will walk us through the report.
Thank you, Katie. I know you're going to be speaking to this, but if you could introduce who's at the front table to answer questions as well.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Bosch. So we have Elaine from the Golden Age Center Society, and then we have John from Soto Architecture here today to help answer some questions. So the Golden Age Center is celebrating 50 years of operation this year, and they're planning quite a large celebration in March. They currently have over 700 members and are growing by the week, resulting in expanding demand for programs. The Board of Directors has created a building committee and fund with the intention of expanding the facility by 3,700 square feet, with construction anticipated to begin in 2026. If Council approves the project, it is recommended to enter into a construction agreement similar to what was done with South Peace Regional Archive space in the Center 2000 basement. As noted in the report, a number of items are required before the project will begin. The agreement would allow the Society to hire the architectural consultant and prime contractor, and the City's Corporate Facilities Department would provide a project manager to oversee the project. The Society has already designated funds for the project and continues to earmark 80% of their fundraising initiatives toward the building fund. They're also requesting a letter of support from the Mayor for a large-scale CFEP application, which will be due in the coming months. This project aims to enhance the facility, allowing more opportunities for seniors programming and space for revenue-generating events for the community, which will further support the organization's financial position to offer programs and services. Administration is requesting that committee recommend Council direct administration to negotiate and enter into such agreements as necessary. The full motion is outlined in the report, and John and Elaine are here to help answer any questions on this as well.
Thank you, Katie. Does Council have any questions? Councillor Burke.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bosch, and thank you. So just curious, when are you hoping to break ground, and when is an estimated completion, if all is approved?
I would love to break ground this spring. Realistically, it's not going to happen.
Okay, so realistically, what do you...
Realistically, 2026.
Okay, so you got a little bit of runway, and then completion?
That's up to him.
About 12 months.
12 months? Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. In our report, I noticed that you weren't asking or requiring any funding. And can you just explain? In the report, it says 80% is funded through you and your efforts. Can you just explain that a little bit, please?
Sure. So we already have 382,000 set aside for a building fund. We will be going to the bank as soon as we get this year end done. Because they have expressed interest in funding it for us until we get our grants in. There's, I think, 9 different grants that I'm applying for the CFEP being the largest one at $1 million. Our fundraising efforts are always ongoing. Last year we did a just over $400,000 gross profit with $100,000 net profit. So we work really, really hard at our fundraising efforts. The community's great. We believe that we can do this without asking the city to put anything in, except for a sprinkler system. The other thing is we are also a registered charity. So that's actually quite helpful because we can ask, local companies, if they would donate wood, whatever, we can write them charitable tax receipts. So that is actually quite helpful. We're not just a nonprofit. We're also that charity as well. So.
Thank you, Elaine. My follow-up question is, when you're applying for these grants, if you don't get them, have you, or do you have the intention of breaking ground prior to knowing if you receive these grants, or are you going to break ground after you know?
We are going to break ground 2026, regardless of the grants. The grants will take time to go through, of course. The CFEP grant actually just changed their rules this year, so they want a minimum 8-year lease. Right now we're at 4.
Right, and you're asking for 10.
Actually, 20 would be way better.
So you have a plan B, though, if
we do
that granting doesn't come in?
We do.
And have you shared that with administration at all?
Pardon me?
Have you shared that with administration?
I believe so. Just the fundraising aspect and yeah.
Okay.
And the bank as well. So.
Okay, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bosch. As this is a city building, have you involved the city or consulted in the design and also around additional parking to accommodate the extra space?
I have asked, yes. McPhillips, Katie are on our building committee. I have talked to them about parking. The parking is a huge deal. We have to date 715 members. We are growing tremendously. Last year we had, I think we had over 400 new members. Just in January alone, we've taken 50 new members this year. So we're growing. The parking is an issue. However, I've been told that there's not much we can do. But I really think that, the city could do like a tiered parking lot like the hospital has, if you guys want to think about that.
It's only pennies.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, those are fairly expensive. But and again, I don't know where you're at. I'm just kind of throwing this out. But I do know west of your building at Muskogee Park there is parking, so maybe some stairs or something there might relieve some of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone else? No. Okay, looking for business. Councillor Berg.
I just got dropped. Let me sign back in.
Oh, Councillor Blackmore, do you have it in front of you? Okay.
I can do business.
Sure. Thank you.
So I would move that the committee recommend council direct administration to negotiate and enter into such agreements as necessary to enable the continued operation of the Golden Age Centre by the Grande Prairie and District Golden Age Centre Society, including a 10-year operating agreement and such agreements governing construction as administration deems necessary or appropriate, all of which agreements shall contain terms and conditions to the satisfaction of the city manager and the city solicitor. So that's a rather long and verbose motion, but really is directing our administration to work with the Golden Age Society to do what we need to do to move this forward. Certainly, I'm not sure that this is the best solution, but it's the solution that we have in front of us today. So I would ask you to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Blackmore. We just have a comment from City Manager Greenberg.
If I could offer a suggestion and amend that to 20 years. The previous request had been 10 years, and that's what we'd brought forward. I do believe success of the project would benefit from a 20-year lease, especially if they're looking at borrowing from a financial institution. I think that will end up being a requirement. So I suggest that be amended to 20 years and then help us move this forward.
Thank you. I'm comfortable with that. Councillor Blackmore, would you mind changing?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Okay. Thank you for that. And the motion is in order. No wonder you needed it in front of you. And I'll call the question.
Councillor Berg in favor.
Thank you. And that is a unanimous confirmation. So thank you, Elaine and John, for coming. And yeah, we're going to get this looked after for you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we do not have any correspondence, other business that I'm aware of, nor bylaw and policy review. We're going to go into our outstanding items list. And Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no changes to the outstanding items list.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Berg, you ready?
I'll just make that motion.
Okay.
We accept this.
Councillor
for
Berg
information.
moves that the committee receive the February 4th outstanding items list as presented for information. Did you?
I did, and I'm back in now.
Thank you. We'll call the question. And that is carried. So we will adjourn this meeting. Stay warm, everyone. Thank you.